Britain in the 1960s was a nation finding its feet. The post-war austerity of the previous decade was finally lifting, wages were slowly rising, and for the first time in generations, ordinary working families dared to dream of something that had once seemed entirely out of reach, a motor car of their very own. The roads were filling up, the suburbs were expanding, and the family saloon became as much a symbol of aspiration as the new television set sitting in the front room. These were not just machines. They were milestones of progress, parked proudly on driveways the length and breadth of the country. Today on Britain Rewind, we are counting down the 10 best-selling British family cars of the 1960s, and the number 1 entry may well surprise you. If you enjoy this kind of nostalgic motoring history, please do give the video a like and subscribe to Britain Rewind so you never miss a story. Now, we begin with number 10. Number 10, Hillman Minx. The Hillman Minx, produced from 1956 through into the 1960s at the Roots Group's factory in Coventry, was a quietly dependable saloon that occupied a very specific corner of the British market. Under the bonnet sat a 1.5-litre 4-cylinder engine producing around 47 brake horsepower, driving the rear wheels through a 4-speed gearbox. The Minx was a conventional, upright design, but it was solid and well-proportioned for its time. Inside, buyers found a reasonably comfortable cabin with bench seating and a no-nonsense dashboard that felt practical rather than glamorous. It appealed primarily to lower-middle-class families and small tradesmen who needed reliability above all else. Sales were steady if never spectacular, and the Minx earned a loyal, if modest, following throughout the decade. It remains a gentle reminder of how Coventry once shaped British family motoring. Number 9, Triumph Herald. Built at the Standard Triumph factory in Coventry and introduced in 1959, the Triumph Herald carried itself into the 1960s with a sense of individuality that set it apart from the crowd. Its 948cc engine, later enlarged to 1147cc, offered modest performance, but what made the Herald genuinely distinctive was its separate chassis construction and remarkable 25-foot turning circle, a feature that made it enormously practical in tight urban conditions. The bodywork was designed by Italian stylist Giovanni Michelotti, giving it an unusually elegant appearance for a car of its price bracket. The interior was light and airy, with good visibility all round. Young professional couples and families in smaller towns found it particularly appealing. It sold respectably throughout the decade and cemented Triumph's reputation for offering something a little more considered than the average family car. Number 8, Austin A40 Fina. The Austin A40 Fina, assembled at Longbridge in Birmingham from 1958 and selling strongly into the early 1960s, was a car of considerable historical interest. Styled by the legendary Pininfarina studio in Italy, it wore its continental influence with quiet confidence. The 948cc A-series engine drove the rear wheels and returned adequate if unspectacular performance, while the car's most forward-thinking feature was its rear hatch design, one of the earliest examples of a practical tailgate on a small British family car, foreshadowing the hatchback revolution that would follow years later. The cabin was modest but neatly finished, aimed squarely at young families of limited means. It sold in considerable numbers, particularly in urban areas, and proved that British Leyland could produce a car with genuine style at an accessible price point. The A40 Fina deserves greater recognition than history has given it. Number 7, Ford Anglia 105e. The Ford Anglia 105e, which rolled off the production line at Ford's Dagenham plant in Essex from 1959 onwards, was one of the defining small cars of the early 1960s. Its most immediately striking feature was its reverse-rake rear window, a bold stylistic choice borrowed from American automotive fashion that gave the Anglia an unmistakably modern silhouette. Beneath the bonnet sat a newly developed 997cc overhead valve engine, later joined by a 1198cc unit, offering lively and economical performance for the era. The interior was functional and reasonably well appointed, with sufficient room for a family of 4 on shorter journeys. It sold in extraordinary numbers to working families across Britain who wanted something modern and affordable. The Anglia became a genuine cultural fixture in early 60s Britain, visible on virtually every high street in the land. Number 6, Vauxhall Victor FType and FB. The Vauxhall Victor, produced at the Vauxhall plant in Luton, Bedfordshire, brought a distinctly transatlantic flavor to British family motoring during the early and mid-1960s. Its swooping American-influenced bodywork, complete with modest tail fins on earlier models, made it look considerably more exotic than its price suggested. The 1.5-litre four-cylinder engine offered reasonable performance, and the Victor's 3-speed column-change gearbox gave it a character all of its own. Inside, there was genuine space for a family, with comfortable bench seats front and rear. It appealed strongly to aspirational working-class families who wanted something with a touch of flair. The Victor sold consistently well throughout the decade and helped establish Vauxhall as a serious rival to Ford in the family car segment. It was a Luton-built saloon with rather more ambition than it sometimes receives credit for. One of the cars still to come in this countdown would go on to influence British motoring far beyond its own decade, and its impact is still felt today. Number 5. Rover P4. The Rover P4, built at the Rover Company's factory in Solihull, West Midlands, and produced in various forms from 1949 right through to 1964, occupied a prestigious position in the British family car landscape throughout the 1960s. Powered by a range of 6-cylinder engines displacing between 1.9 and 2.6 litres and producing up to 104 brake horsepower in later variants, the P4 was a car of genuine refinement. Its styling was upright and authoritative, and the interior was a genuinely impressive space, lined with leather and polished wood that spoke of quality craftsmanship. It was the preferred choice of bank managers, solicitors, and senior civil servants, the respectable professional classes of provincial England. Though never a mass-market vehicle by volume, the P4 commanded deep loyalty and sold steadily to those who valued longevity and understated quality above all else. It remains one of the most dignified British cars of its era. Number 4. Austin A60 Cambridge. The Austin A60 Cambridge, manufactured at the vast Longbridge plant in Birmingham from 1961 to 1969, was the dependable backbone of the British Motor Corporation's family saloon range throughout the middle years of the decade. Its 1622cc B-Series engine produced around 61 brake horsepower and proved itself to be one of the most durable units in British automotive history. The Farina-influenced styling was conservative but smart, and the interior offered genuine family space with comfortable seating for 5 passengers. It was a car bought by teachers, tradesmen, and middle managers who required something spacious, reliable, and without unnecessary complication. Fleet buyers and private hire operators also found it extremely practical. The A60 Cambridge sold in very large numbers and remained in production for nearly the entire decade, a testament to how well it served its intended purpose with quiet, unfussy competence. Number 3. Ford Cortina 1 Malawian Quachar. The Ford Cortina Mark I, which entered production at Dagenham in 1962, was nothing short of a revolution in British family motoring. Ford had set out to build a car that was light, spacious, affordable, and mechanically simple, and in every respect they succeeded brilliantly. The 1198cc and later 1498cc Kent engines were smooth and economical, while the Cortina's curb weight of under 800 kilograms gave it a lively character that buyers immediately responded to. Inside, the cabin was genuinely roomy, far more so than many rivals, with a clean, modern dashboard and comfortable seating throughout. It became the car of the British everyman, the factory worker, the young family, the commercial traveller. The Cortina topped the British sales charts with remarkable speed and transformed Ford's fortunes entirely. Its cultural significance in 1960s Britain cannot be overstated. It was not simply a car, it was a way of life. Number 2. BMC AD016, Austin 1100 and Morris 1100. The BMC AD016 family, sold variously as the Austin 1100 and Morris 1100 and built at both Longbridge and Cowley throughout the 1960s, achieved something quite remarkable. It became, for several years, the absolute best-selling car in Britain, edging past even the mighty Cortina during its peak years. Alec Isigonis designed a car of genuine engineering sophistication, combining his revolutionary transverse engine layout and front-wheel drive with the extraordinary hydroelastic interconnected suspension system, which delivered a ride quality that astonished contemporary road testers. The 1098cc A-Series engine was willing and economical, and the interior packaging was exceptional, offering more usable cabin space than any competitor of comparable dimensions. Families across every income bracket embraced it. The A60 represented British engineering at its most inventive and confident, and its years at the top of the sales chart stand as one of the great achievements of the domestic motor industry. Number 1. BMC Mini. And so we arrive at number 1, and if you have been watching Britain Rewind for any time at all, you may well have seen this coming. The Mini, launched in 1959 and produced at both Longbridge and Cowley, did not merely sell in enormous numbers throughout the 1960s, it fundamentally rewrote the rules of what a family car could be. Alec Isagonis placed his 848cc A-series engine transversely across the car, driving the front wheels, and in doing so liberated an astonishing 80% of the vehicle's footprint for passengers and luggage. The ride was firm. The handling was unlike anything the British public had experienced, and the price was within reach of almost every family in the land. Aristocrats and factory workers bought the same car. Pop stars and pensioners shared the same model. The Mini transcended class, transcended fashion, and ultimately transcended the decade itself. It remains, without question, the single most important British car of the 20th century. Looking back across these 10 remarkable vehicles, what strikes you most profoundly is not merely the engineering achievement they represent, but the social transformation they embody. In the space of a single decade, the motor car moved from being an occasional luxury to an everyday necessity for millions of British families. These were the machines that carried children to school, ferried families to the seaside on bank holiday weekends, and transported working men to factories and offices across the length of the country. They democratized mobility in a way that nothing before them ever had. The roads of 1960s Britain became arteries of a new kind of freedom, and the modest family saloon was the vessel through which that freedom flowed. These cars were not just products of their time, they were the builders of it, and the lives shaped around them deserve to be remembered with genuine affection and respect. Thank you for joining us on Britain Rewind for this look back at the 10 best-selling British family cars of the 1960s. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like. It genuinely helps the channel more than you might realize. Subscribe to Britain Rewind so you never miss a story from Britain's extraordinary motoring past. And do let us know in the comments below which car from today's list holds a special place in your memory. We have many more classic British motoring stories ahead, and we look forward to seeing you next time.